Viewers all. Well, this thing's all serviced up, all the oil's changed in both the motor and the pump. The easiest for to drain the pump hasn't got a drain plug, so what you do, undo the bolts and flip the pump upside down, swing it upside down and drain it from there. That's all nice and full now with new oil, and so is the motor. On the topic of pressure washers, I just went ahead and ordered a new star capacitor for this, and I did test this. It did test fine, the ESR was good. Still couldn't work out why it wasn't starting properly. The windings look good, it smells good in there. And I just took these sleeves back. You can see something's been hot there. I wonder why has that been hot for a little bit, trying to start the motor. I thought the capacitor was bad. And look here, it's only crept on the insulation and just touching. How the hell is that going to start the motor? The neutral one's not quite as bad, but I'm going to resolder this. That's been on its way for a while. I'll fix that. A little motor to resolder the connections in there. The capacitor seems to be electrically connected properly now. I'm just checking a little pressure adjust here. What you want to do, you want to put grease in these things, because sometimes these can get a bit of water in there over time, and they can seize, and you cannot change the setting on the pressure setting anymore. It's good to just put a bit of grease in there for some additional lubrication and protection. There's like a ball and a spring in there, and it just pushes against the spring when you tighten the knob. It makes it harder to push water past it to the output, thus boosting the pressure. And the spring's there somewhere. There's also a cyclist in the back of that, which you can see it's got oil on it. This thing's all nice and serviced up, ready to go now. Let's give this thing a test. Put a little bit of grease in there, just so this thing can stay free and always operable. A little piston in there has to move freely. A bit more in there wouldn't hurt. Get some more grease in that. That'll always work really well then. You won't have to put a monkey wrench on it just to turn this damn thing. I've encountered that before with pressure wash pumps, and agricultural spray vat pumps have a similar adjustment on them, which they tend to have this problem where water gets in there and that little piston seizes and you can't set the pressure anymore. A little ring, you can take that detent out and turn it so this can go lower. You can get a bit more pressure out of it. But bear in mind, there's an electric motor, and that probably will stall and lock up. So it's probably not the best thing for a petrol one. You can do it because the motor is only stall, and you can hot the motor up a bit to get extra work out of it. This you can't. You're limited to that electric motor, so you can't really hot this thing up much. Well, that turns nice and good now. Look at that. There we go. Wherever the lid to that, I don't know. That's just for soap. You put soap in there. I've already selected up the switch to make sure it's extremely watertight. Anyway, let's put it all back together and give it a test. Okay, viewers, well, it does start a little better. Well, it's not much different to what it was before. It seems to work pretty powerfully, but this thing's actually a circuit breaker. That switch actually switches off mechanically like a circuit breaker. That's actually a circuit breaker, and it overloads. The motor just overloads it. The motor tests it good and smells good in there, but it just builds up pressure and works normally for about 10 seconds and then shuts off. Just trips. Trips out. There you go. Trips out. It's actually a circuit breaker. What could that possibly be? Unless the motor's damaged somehow. The motor's weak and it's just tripping out. Maybe the motor's buggered? Possibly. It's not getting that warm. That's weird. One hand operation there, plug it back in. There we go. Plenty of pressure. Chips out, turns off. There we go, chipped out. This doesn't seem to do anything. Maybe there's something wrong with this. Because I got this backed all the way off. Back all the way out. Just sit it on there. No. That's building up pressure, see? That should not be building up pressure when it's backed all the way off. That should just reduce pressure. Something in here is probably stuck, I reckon. I reckon this is already stuck. Yeah, that's why I put grease in it to avoid that. That's already got stuck at full whack and that doesn't move. So I've got to pull this all apart. This top bit screws off and I can move that piston up and free it. That's probably what's wrong with it. That's why it's doing that. Someone's just tightened the crap out of it because water's gotten in there. That's stuck on max, so this adjustment does nothing. That piston is supposed to move up. When I move this, loosen it, and that reduces the pressure. And that ain't happening. So I've got to fix this pressure adjuster up. Well, here's a little device taken apart. In this case, it's high quality stainless steel and brass. Very good and well made. Bit of wear on that bit too. Basically, there's a seat this valve sits on. And when you tighten this up, that spring puts more pressure on this, making the pump work harder to push water past this and open it up against the spring, thus increasing the hydraulic pressure of the output of the wash. So this thing doesn't move much at all. That's why the motor's overloading at full. And this thing, no matter what this was on, I'll take this out completely and it's still putting that full whack no matter what. So it's this thing's a bit stuck. So if I fix this up and free it up, I'm pretty confident this pressure washer should work normally again. It's all freed up, the piston is in and out nice and freely now. All nice and greased and oiled up, and it should work better now, hopefully. Oh yes, there's nothing there. Yep, that's what we want. That's what we want to hear. That's what we want to hear. That's a better result, isn't it? PSI. 600 PSI there. 800. 1000. 1000. There we go. .1000 PSI. Not bad. That's working fine now. I fixed it. That's max as high as it goes. 1500 PSI. That's 70 bar. The tag says 70 bar, that's a 1000 PSI rated pump. That's all this thing can do. This thing was so stuck, it was maxing out at 1500. It shouldn't go that high. I thought the motor was overloading. The motor can't do it. If it could do it, it would have blown the pump up. Had this been an engine-driven machine, it would have blown the pump up. So, that's what the deal is there. One thing I've looked out for are pressure washers. You can't really expect that gauge to go to 1500 even though you paid for that much. It's only a 1000 PSI rated pump, that's all I can do. That's like a car engine, banging and hitting the rev limiter all the time. Not going to last long. Well, same thing with this pump. So that's the mid-nominal there, 1000 PSI. Good as gold now. Not too noisy, bearings are good. No, I'll get the hose out of here and I'll give me you to wash. Let's test this thing on my ute. So that's not a 1500 PSI pressure washer like I thought it was. Only 1000 PSI, because this thing was so damn stuck, it wouldn't work. This wasn't working at all. So it was pretty much just chipping them, overloading the motor. We're just building up so much pressure, and just overloading that poor 2 horsepower motor, overloading. It's pretty good. It's got that circuit breaker switch there. That's a good. That's a pretty good thing. First time I've seen something like that. Yeah, good brand. Annovi Reverberi. They make good stuff. cut out about 3 times washing my vehicle. A 10-minute wash, this thing's cut out 3 times. A little bit, not overly hot, but there's a thermal cutout in here. It saves the motor from burning out. So they put this circuit breaker on there for a reason. Very smart thinking, I like that. Here you put 20W30 in that pump. I'll just put SAE30 in there, which is good enough for now. Ideally, every 30 hours or so, change the oil completely in this pump. This thing does have a drain plug on the bottom of it, and they've got a sight glass there to see the level. It's supposed to be about here. Those arrows there is where the oil level is supposed to sit. There's a dipstick on here. You don't want to put too much oil in there, so it can't move. The oil is going to compress and blow seals. Top of that top mark there. It's not too bad, it's pretty clean. No water in there, it's a good thing. Anyway. It works pretty well. Just that it cuts out every now and then. Let it cool and give it another go. Anyway, other than that, I can't fault it anymore. Thanks for watching.